All right, folks, we are live, and I'm going to share my screen for our lesson today, a self-publishing lesson today, which is actually going to be about setting up a book for print. So, if you've been following, you know that I am getting Writing Zombies, the book, ready to go out. You may have seen the recent pilot episode for an animated YouTube video series, and you may have seen the podcast or the book in school as it was being worked on, or some of my zombie writing courses. But if you've been following, you know I wasn't happy with the layout changes and the extra margins that were added when I was looking at laying it out for print in draft to digital, and the fact that they only work with black and white. So I'm going to be setting it up to go out to books.by, to sell directly to readers. And it's going to be full color, and it's going to be oversized, or oversized if you're working from the comic industry. Um, so, uh, because I don't like any of the automated layout systems that I've seen so far, I don't feel like it's doing justice to the artwork in the book. So I'm going to take the reins and get in there and do the layout myself. This is something that have done for years. The software has changed so much, and there are alternatives if you don't want to spend the money to subscribe to Adobe InDesign. I'm going to show you a thing called Scribus, which is a free version. So, uh, hang in there, and we're going to go over just a couple particulars and getting the layout started on your own book for print specifically. So, first, I'm going to go to my trusty Ecosia, my preferred search engine. Why do I prefer them? Well, because they're a not for profit that uses their ad revenue to plant trees. Uh, and there's all kinds of extra features. Now, I've had, see, this is on guest user. I haven't properly signed in a long time. But if you do, um, it will keep track of actually how many ads that have been shown, and how many plants or trees it's helped plant. Now, in Ecosia, I am going to put in Scribus, Scribus. Softronic, no, those are all the sponsored ads. SourceForge, Scribus.net. I'm not sure that Softronic is the proper one. I'm going to go to the Wikipedia Scribus entry. Um, it's free and open source desktop publishing software. This I know. And they have a version for pretty much every website possible, or not website, operating system, I should say. Scribus.net. See, sometimes Wikipedia is the place to go to get the proper URL. I don't know why that is. Um, Search engines have gotten so overwhelmed with paid results in the top five, in the top half of the page now. It's part of the enshittification of the internet. So now it's harder to find the direct software company you want. But here we go, Scribus.net. So if you hit the download, it's going to give you information, and it's going to tell you some of the different options available. They've got it for Windows 32-bit, 64-bit, portable Scribus for Windows, Mac OS, Apple Silicon, as opposed to the Intel Monterey, Warp 4, like all sorts of stuff. And I believe there's one for Linux, and there's all kinds of stuff. Yep, there's Linux, Ubuntu, Gentoo. And so you should be able to find any operating system that you're using on here and download the version for you. I obviously already have it on my computer, so I am going to just open Scribus, and we're going to get familiar with starting it. And if you're already familiar with other layout software like InDesign or Quark Express, that's going back a fair bit. I used to use Quark Express before InDesign existed. Um, I'm not sure of all the other options that are available now, but Scribus does the same thing, but it's free and it's open source. So I'm going to make a book. I'm not laying out a single page. So I'm choosing the facing pages option. Now, if you have an existing document, recent document, template, blah, 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 those are all options you can have as well. Um, Now, you'll want to check the margins and the bleeds. Okay. Uh, Bleeds are if you're doing a full color print or a black and white, doesn't matter. But if you want the image to go out over the edge so that there's no white border around the images in the book, then you'll have to have a bleed, which is when the image goes off of the page dimensions. Because what happens is books are printed on sheets of paper that are larger than the book and then they're trimmed down. So if you have a bleed, it means that a little bit of that image, about an eighth of an inch on all sides, is going to get cut off when they trim the book so that that image goes right out to the edge and looks nice. If you want a white border, then you work within those finished trim boundaries. So, for example, it just so happens that I am actually setting this up as a letter size document. So this is perfect already. Um, we can add pages as we go, but I know this book is going to be at least 48 pages. So I'm going to start off with 48 blank pages. Now, the first page is the right page. It should always be if you're laying out a book from start to finish. Um, and as for the bleeds, we're going to do 0.125 inches for all of them because that's an eighth of an inch and that's all we need for the bleed. If you do more than that, you are going to be cutting off a larger chunk of your image that no one's ever going to see. And that's why, too, when you're developing original artwork, you want to keep anything important that you want people to see at least a quarter, if not a half inch away from the outside edges of your image. Um, these are all things to keep in mind. Now, our inner margins, I'm not sure why it's at 5556 when point 0.5 will do just fine. So, oh, I see. See what you're doing there. There we go. Okay. So those are going to be our margins inside of our trim area, which is 8.5 by 11. So assuming that is all correct and I'm not missing anything funky about the way the layout sets up, I'm going to hit OK. Now, I've been specializing in digital and web for a while now. So sometimes I'm a little rusty, but here we go. And we got our bleeds, we got our margins. Be beautiful. Okay. So, what is the first thing that we are going to set up? That would be the title page. So, we simply click on the text box here or the text tool here. Oh, there we go. Text tool. And in this case, uh, I'm going to insert some text. Okay. We're going to change these options after so that you can see that you can edit it. But I'm going to put the title. Oh, helps if I spell it right. And so when you're doing a title page, you don't need to get fancy. You don't need to add graphics. You literally only need to add the title of the book, the author name, the publisher, if there is one, or if you want to, or if the publisher is doing it, they're going to put it on there. Um, and sometimes the publisher will put the names of the cities they have offices in, but that is all you need for the title page. We're going to get into indicia later, and I'll explain that shortly. But right now, I've got writing zombies. It looks kind of plain and small. So what I want to do is I want to edit this. And I feel like I'm missing a toolbar here. That's better. Okay. So here's what we want. We want text. So I went to Windows and text properties there, or Windows and properties. So we've got writing zombies. It's been made larger. Um, let's change it to bold. You can always use an interesting font here. It's fine. Now, you may want to pick out the font you're going to use for the entire book. And in that case, you want to be aware of picking a font that is easily legible. And so often that's why you'll find a lot of standard fonts for reading are things like Arial, as well as Times New Roman. There's a couple other ones as well. I'm just going to stick with Arial for now. This is not final, it can be changed later. Um, and I'm going to increase that size to 36. Writing zombies. Okay. So now we've got this text box that has an outline. And so I want to take a look and see if there are some properties that I can change. So that those are the text properties as well. Okay, so this is the regular properties window, and what I want, instead of 0.139 inches, is just 0, I guess. Even that doesn't seem right. No, no, okay. So this here under the shape option in properties is gonna dictate as to whether the text will go over images, around them, bound them. There's all different options there. I'm not liking how this responds right now when I scroll on my mouse. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. This line is presenting a problem for me, and the fact that it exists, I don't want it at all. And I don't know why that would be on default. Custom of all the stupid things to start off with. What a stupid default. Ugh, like, why would I want that? Right. Let's try something else. Perhaps I started with the wrong tool. Hmm. See, that says text frame. Why would that be the default? Tributes, cancel. What a stupid default. This is not helping at all. These are the things you run into when you're laying out your book. I'm going to revisit this in a future video and show you how to fix it because I'm going to have to do some research and figure out why this is happening. Uh, okay. We'll be moving on. Yes. I feel like that just became even more complicated than necessary. So we'll take a look at that later. Right now, I want to take a look at the content properties. And once again, I'm going to change the font size to 36 and I'm going to center it and I'm going to stick with Arial for now. I'm going to click on it, hold Control, hit C for copy, click off of it, Control, hit V for paste. So now I've got a second one that I can move and I'm going to put my name there and going to reduce the size of the text to around 24. That's fine. And this is a placeholder for now. It will be aligned later. I was only intending on setting up placeholders anyway. I'm just not sure why it's decided to be difficult today. All right. So now the next thing to know when you're setting out your layout in your book, when you get to your first two-page spread, we're going to want to set up an indicia page. Now, you can leave these two pages blank if you want and put the indicia on the back of this right page, which I'll show you in a moment. Some people do that. Sometimes they put it on the back of the title page. That's what I'm going to do because I just don't feel the need to waste extra space and extra pages. And the indicia is your legal copyright notice, your ISBN, your date of publication, stuff like that. So this is my placeholder for the indicia that we're going to come back and look at in a future video and explain what you need so that it's legally proper and copyrightable, trademarkable, depending on the content, and that you've followed all the rules to protect your own copyright. So that is called the indicia, and that will be right there. This page is going to be blank. And now we've got the next two-page spread. And now this is where I'm going to share some information about an amateur mistake that I made. So when you are working to create art and visual work, I always recommend that you work at print resolution or like the highest resolution you intend to work in. If you're just working for creating art for the screen and you have no intention of ever printing it, then you can work with the standard resolutions for screen, which are 72 DPI for a regular monitor and 96 DPI for a high definition monitor. DPI is dots per inch. Now, if you want to print, it is a totally different story because what looks good on the screen, because a high resolution screen to your eye looks good, that's only 96 dots per inch. When it comes to print, Print needs a much higher resolution to achieve the same quality to your eye. And so that means that you want to work at around 300 dots per inch. Some people go as high as 600. I find that's a waste. It's just going to take up a lot of extra memory space on your computer. So, um, generally, I try and work at print resolution, and then you just save a lower resolution copy of the file. You just save a copy and then reduce the resolution and save that. And that's great for screens so that you're not trying to load a huge image onto a screen and taking up people's time and internet bandwidth. Now, here's the problem. I made the amateur mistake of not working at print resolution. So I have a title image that, in fact, originally when I was working with Draft to Digital, they wanted Microsoft Word files, which is really hard to lay out images in, and doesn't give you a lot of editing ability, doesn't give you a lot of options. So, since I'm not doing that anymore, I want this to look its best. So, I have been experimenting with Vidu, which is an online app for creating uh, animated clips, taking artwork and animating it with AI. And I did an experiment this morning to see if it could upscale the image for me, and it did. So that is something that you now know. That doesn't mean that is your fallback. I still always recommend working at print size. Now, this title image, I'm going to make it a 2-page spread, which is not what I intended originally. But now I've got it high resolution, so I can do that. So I'm keeping it within our margins because I don't intend for this image to bleed outside of the edges. I will show you how to do that in the future when we follow up. And if you want to learn about some of the other stuff I've had to do to get this ready, like upscaling in Vidu or how to upscale an image. There's some misconceptions. It's not as easy as people make it sound. It's not just going into Photoshop or another image editing software and just saving it as a higher resolution. That doesn't work. You will lose image quality and it will pixelate. Ideally, if you work in a vector format and create a vector image with software like Illustrator or um, Inkscape, that a vector image will keep the same resolution no matter what size it's at. But if you're working with an image that isn't vector, which is a standard JPEG or a GIF, and you need to upscale it, there are artificial ways to upscale it using AI or other online services. And depending on the dimensions, there are ways you can do that and have it work properly in Photoshop or Illustrator. So I will visit that in the future if anyone is interested. Now, what I need to do is get the image to go into this box. And what I want is, oh, it's right here, downloads. I'm used to it being up here and I totally missed it. Okay. So download. Hmm. Cancel this for 1 second. Just let me make sure that I have the file. It is a PNG. Yeah. So that's the image I want. It is in my downloads folder. Oh, today's lesson might be really interesting, folks, because it might just drive me nuts. Get image. Why would it not have that PNG? How are these sorted? Yikes. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now you can see it's a very large image. So I'm going to uh, get my content properties box up, and I'm going to scale it to frame size. I do not need any image effects, but there we go. Now we've got a 2-page spread of chapter 1, Writing Zombies. Just gonna trim the frame down a bit so I can make sure that it's centered properly. Nudge it down a little bit. Nudge it back up a couple spots. That's pretty good. But now that'll be the first 2-page spread when someone opens it before they start reading chapter 1. So, I was gonna show you the text document on how to start putting in the text from the original Word file, but since this text box issue is outstanding and I need some time to figure it out, I'm gonna say that this is it for today, and I will follow up with the solution to that text box problem I'm having and how to actually place the text in a future lesson. So I apologize if this has been a little short, but there's no need for you to sit here and watch me for 20 minutes try and figure out something weird going on with this program. So before I leave, obviously I'm going to save as, and it's an SLA file format that it saves in. And I'm going to just keep this in my documents for now. And I'm going to name this WZ for Writing Zombie, Writing Zombies, I should say. Because I had another print layout that was done in Word. I'm labeling this one print layout Scribus so that I can find this easily later and open it, which we'll be doing. And I'll be looking at why I'm having that issue with a text box. Anyway, thank you for watching. And that is today's quick self-publishing bite-sized lesson. I'm glad you were able to join me. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.